After Wushu lost its usefulness on the battlefield, practical and straightforward techniques slowly diverged into many different schools and styles, until it reached the form it has today. What events took place during this transition? That is the question our team sets out to answer as we visit various masters and experts of the art. The School of Martial Arts at the Shanghai University of Sports is one of China's most authoritative wushu education and research institutions. Qiu Pixiang, a renowned scholar, took us to one of its wushu classes. Many of these students have won both national and international championships. However, these classes do not prepare them for real combat.
武术套路呢，它是一种攻防技术的艺术体现，它就是把很多攻防技术的动作，把它按照一定的程序编排出来以后，来进行传承练习。
压住，不要快，压住气往下沉。
这个是形意拳的套路
啊，民间它讲究一下一下进退，就是直来直去的进退。对，这就是崩拳。
这是民间的。
这是民间的。
再打一个。
竞技套路的，就比较节奏化，它有节奏的变化。
它走势打得比较开展。我们这个竞技武术，它就是源于民间的传统武术。解放初期，我的老师蔡龙云先生系统地整理了中国武术套路运动员训练的一整套基本功体系。他评定的模式参照了 西方体操的评判模式，高难美，技术动作质量高，动作难度大。所谓美呢，就是气脉不断，行云流水，强调节奏、精神、表演。
So, wushu sequences do not focus on combat, but is there any way for students to practice real fighting skills? The answer is yes, if they major in sanda.
套路比赛和散打的比赛都属于武术的范畴。80年代初期呢，我们国家感觉我们的运动员只会练程式化的拳打脚踢，不行，他应该有对抗的形式。经过实验以后，开始正式设立了武术对抗的项目，也就是取名散打，包含了武术当中的踢打摔、边拳边腿。
Sanda looks very different from our idea of wushu.
人类进行搏击的情况下的话，攻防格斗的技术基本上是趋同一致的。一个完整的武术人才应该是能打能练。
The instructor Li Jianwen will be familiar to many people in China, as he appears in a video that went viral online. In this video that was widely shared online, Li Jianwen uses his techniques to defeat a much bigger opponent. In fact, Li started out practicing sequences. He only made the switch to fighting later on in his career.
那个视频上，对吧？大家也看到了，我是后腿从后面打的。那这是什么呢？我运用了前滚翻的意识来打的。很多教练就觉得，哎呀，那是花招。实际你不去尝试，你不用这些花招去打，你永远觉得就是花招。
Even so, sanda is the most professionally oriented form of wushu that is focused on fighting and the strongest representative of wushu as a form of combat.
中国武术它的本真价值，它就是对抗。对抗讲究的快、准、狠。在当代的人来讲，他不去专心的研究它的实战价值，他只研究我能站得稳，我能健身，好这个动作漂亮。他们研究的方向已经改变了。
Is this why people question wushu's usefulness in combat? Zhou believes that most of the critics are focusing on non-professional practitioners.
自成体系的拳种累计起来有129个， 一些拳种的分布，不同的地域表现了不同的拳种，大致的可以分为以长江为界，一南一北，南拳北腿。
Southerners punch, northerners kick. Spears are common in the east, staffs in the west. This map inspired us to visit different regions. Chiu told us that when schools of Wushu were mapped in the 80s, schools were only acknowledged if they were passed down orderly, had clear rules and a unique style, and made up a self-contained system. Their fighting style should also be useful in combat. With these criteria in mind, we set out to discover the true face of the Wushu practiced by common people. We decided to begin with the southern fighting styles. One of the most representative of these is the Wuzhu Chuan style, which was established in the city of Quanzhou during the Qing dynasty. Qiu recommended that we visit a practitioner named Zhang Xiaofeng, who we arranged to meet at the Wenmiao Square. Finding him was easy enough, as his school is famous in the city. The locals know him simply as Master. Zhang Xiaofeng became a student of a local master called Su Zaifu when he was 12. He has since worked as a civil servant and in transportation, but neither was his true calling. In the end, he started his own school.
我看这里个子比较小的，
这个对，这个练1年了，上来，往前。
好小啊，蹲下来啊。
来，走开，练对齐的啊。喜欢武馆是吧？喜欢馆长吗？
你给我们做一个
，1、2、3、4，
你看马上
5，精神就不一样了。
对啊，
跳起，1、2、3。
Zhang Xiaofeng told us that only these traditional teaching methods can keep the children focused. After the class, Zhang takes us to the nearby temple of Guanyu. People come here with wishes to fulfill. Zhang's greatest wish is that his son will get into Jimei University. Despite having practiced with his father since he was a child, Zhang Wenjiao scored too low on the university's Wushu entrance exam 2 years in a row.
这个就是我们的那个拜师拜祖堂。武祖拳这个门派比较特殊，它属于一门武拳，它没有一个动作是花草步，只要一个动作出来都是有实战意义的。康熙纪要里面讲，泉州此地民风彪悍，独处匪患，每个人要自保，所以练武之外没有别的途径了。
Although Wuzhu Chuan has been around for just over 100 years, many of its techniques derive from those used in ancient militaries. These staff techniques were created by a Quanzhou general named Yu Dayou, who used them to fight Japanese pirates. These wicker shields are also unique to Wuzhu Chuan.
其实这些很多都源自当时的部队。
These wicker shields and other weapons made important contributions in the fight against the pirates.
他的手法是这样照阳手，我们这样拿的。那在咏春拳，往那一靠，然后这手一拉开一点，就是那个形意拳的三体式了，是不是？再拉大一点啊，那个我们的八极拳的啊，那手往外一拉，太极啊，往后一转，打挂，其实都一样。
But for Zhang's son, there's only one school that counts. He spends most of his time practicing for the standardized exam required to get into university. Anyone who wishes to study sequences in a university have to master these movements. Unlike the wushu he usually trains, they must be clean, difficult, aesthetic, and new.
五组拳他的动作是近身短打、靠身打、贴打。你腿抬那么高，他靠身去，你就随便拨一下到了。
所以这个动作练得怎么样？你觉得？
现在还没有真正就是达到那个标准的那高标准。
再怎么进步嘛，达不到度的话还是没办法，达不到那个高度。
Even as his son faces the pressure of the entrance exam, Zheng still won't let him stop training Wuzu Chuan.
啪，你快打出去，好，打进来，好，千招千解，不快无解。你看我刚刚讲的这个是拳，要打得很远，一步可以达到2米。你是竞技武术的，你就专门为比赛而做，把你动作做得漂亮，越漂亮越好。如果你是要对抗性，你要从小就要有进行这种实战性的训练。
However, if Zheng's son is to get into university, he'll have to train to meet the requirements of the entrance exam. It's a reality that they will both have to face.
如果他不去走这条路，就以后跟我一样，就个传统武师，你没有那个专业院校的提高，接掌我的武馆没用。
我甚至一直在骗自己，这个地方我跳过去了，我就上大学了。 我武术对于我现在嘛，能成为我生活的一部分。既然都选择了，那就继续坚持下去。
Making the step from traditional to formal training is difficult, even as the entrance exam approaches. Zheng insists that his son cannot stop training fighting techniques. Like the southern styles, the northern styles are a loose collection of fighting styles. They focus on kicks and big movements. Shenyang was the hometown of a master of Chuo Fanzi Chuan named Yu Boqian. We're here to visit one of his apprentices, Bai Guodong. However, there's not much information about him and he doesn't have a phone. We only know that he trains in the Zhongshan Park every morning. We scoured the park looking for him, but when we finally found him, he refused to be interviewed.
如果不是他们给我们推荐这些人，您说我能找得着您吗？您还有啥顾虑？您跟我说，没事儿。
我这不明白，这里的事儿太复杂。
After talking for a while, he told us that he had been approached before by people who filmed him and used the recordings to sell classes in his name. Luckily, he knows one of the experts we interviewed for this series, and a phone call alleviated his concerns. But first, he pointed out a mistake we'd made.
翻字拳，他们现在写这个翻呢是这个翻，加个雨字儿，那是错的，应该是这个翻。这个翻呢代表是2以上为翻，就是他每一下都2以上。我师傅说手动足凑，我这步就是得插进去，他俩同时的就这样走，底下个腿给他锁上，在这儿走。啊，
搓脚的搓字的意思是在哪儿？
搓就是不离开地皮呗。 你比如说我体重顶脚啊，就离地8寸，趴脚你可以走，哎，我趴脚一走，哎，
我根本没反应过来。
犯错脚没有一下踢人的。我师傅说过什么？这个眼睛可以测试。
Even at 83 years of age, Bai Guodong keeps bringing up his master Yu Boqian. He began practicing wushu in earnest after seeing Yu Boqian practicing alone in this very park.
我想起来了，那时候师傅说过，既得意必是敌，不是敌那你就祖上谈兵，你不练一辈武术挨一顿揍。
Yu Boqian was born in the late Qing dynasty and lived during the Republican era. Skilled in Chuo Fanzi Chuan, he was not an ordinary man. He'd gone to university, been in the army, and roughed up Japanese troublemakers. Wushu scholar Ma Mingda writes that, in a world where the entire Wushu community was busy practicing flashy movements, he was one of the few who didn't follow the trend and instead remained true to the original Wushu. Bai Guodong doesn't practice sequences anymore, but he takes us to a student in Liaoyang who does. Yu Boqian created this sequence to sum up a lifetime of learning.
拳本来是人编的，它原先它不是神仙编的，这玩意儿就是经过修改以后才能传下来。
Bai Guodong wanted to teach his students Yu Boqian's sword fighting techniques.
闯刀，
当时就这么学的，就是他先进攻，你怎么防，完了怎么再进攻我，他没了，我跟谁练呢？一个人练不了，所以说他就容易忘了。
师傅，你还能记2样吗？
我就知道这个盘能用，这个把能用，怎么走？哎，这是缠头，这是关脑，他2个动作不一样用啊。这个缠头吧，我可以不这么走，我这个手拿这儿嘛，往这里一走，完我这个刀一扛就拉上，哎，这是你也得变，那里头讲究不少。
所以就是说，必须2个人配合的原因就在这儿。
对，
没有人的话，您有些东西是
你练不了。现在就基本失传了吧？
失传了。
有谱没有刀了。
It's been 40 years since his master passed away. In some cases, entire schools disappear with the death of a master.
这是于老师追悼会的时候。
对。我师傅反对练这个跟头打把式，他说这打起来没有用，打起来就是一拳一脚，有啥呀？不管你内家外家，最后都练一家。
打个腿断胳膊折，你自己回家去治。
Bai has lived in this apartment for half his life. When he's not training in the park, he's at home listening to recordings of the Pingshu storyteller Shan Tianfeng.
这3天真正的应会有。
武是啥？精神和力，胆量，一种追求。现在不是追求，现在就是锻炼。俺这邻居都不知道我练这玩意儿，厂子都不知道。
树欲静而风不止。
Bai doesn't want us to stay too long, lest his neighbors start getting curious. Respecting his wish, we leave earlier than we might have wanted to. There are many things that he will probably never share. After leaving, we keep thinking about Bai's master, Yu Boqian, and we decide to use the information that Bai provided to attempt to locate his tomb. We are eager to pay our respects to this old master from a forgotten era.
哎，您好，我们是来找一个叫于伯谦先生的墓。
他有碑没呀？
应该有碑啊。80年代初这儿埋过一个叫于伯谦的武术家，您听说过吗？不知道。
因为这边散文比较多，然后你要不在园区里，我们没法查。
那个于伯谦墓搁山上面了，我安排个人叫他帮你找一下。
哎呦，谢谢，太感谢了，太感谢了。
After a long search, we find Yu Boqian's grave on this hill overlooking the Liao River. Over the last century, many techniques have been lost with the people who mastered them. Perhaps some of the essence of Wushu was lost in the process as well. Earlier, we learned that Westerners use staff and Easterners use spears. Next, we headed east to the city of Bangbu, a city where Wushu is very popular. We went to meet Mei Jiaxian, who practices a style called Xinyi Liu He Chuan, which is said to draw heavily on ancient spear fighting techniques. To our surprise, he takes us to an amateur Peking opera performance.
唱起来是啥感觉？
那是跟武术比，他的丹田用的气力、呼吸都是一样的。
呼吸是一样的，
呼吸都是
相通的地方。
相通的地方。
他这个。
Mei Jiaxian spends his retirement singing, practicing wushu, and looking after his granddaughter. He became obsessed with wushu at an early age and trained Xinyi Liu He Chuan under the master Liu Fengming. This style hails back to the late Ming dynasty and is based on spear fighting techniques. In ancient times, spear fighting was practiced in ranks and columns. Because spears can be unwieldy for a single practitioner, the techniques were adapted to fist fighting. Although less deadly than the spear, this change did help preserve these ancient techniques.
武术啊，坚持到现在的这个最根本的一个东西呢，积极是它的根本。
Practicing basic techniques is essential. The core of wushu as a combat technique lives on even in the practitioner's clothing.
这个鞋是我老师刘凤鸣老先生穿过的，这些呢讲这个失传了。这个鞋本身就是个武器，一刀砍下来，啪一推上去就把接刀，这个时候机会就来了。我们的宋师爷就可以拿这个脚去接刀。
Mei's master is the famous Republican-era master Song Guobin. A former military instructor, he later passed on his skills to workers at the local docks.
在那个年代，武术呢是可以养家糊口的，因为这个淮河码头林立啊，你想在这吃饭，我想在这吃饭，那过去怎么办呢？大家就是拼拳头。现在呢，法治社会了。 长时间呢脱离了这个打斗，记忆能力变弱了，对，他就没有这个环境，再加上这个老师呢这个一知半解，以讹传讹，到最后都是说故事给你听。再一个呢就是保守，保守就是让我不愿意泄这个密。
对谁泄密呢？
练这个东西人都不愿意泄密，那这些东西用口传。你这过去不讲吗？教拳不教步，教步打师傅呀。
Societal changes and teaching methods all contributed to the decline of wushu's usefulness in combat. Mei Jiaxian opened this gym with his apprentice Liu Jiacheng and his son Mei Runzhi. Mei Runzhi has trained since he was a child, but it's not his full-time job. Liu Jiacheng used to be a professional Sanda fighter, but now has a 9-to-5 job. They come here in the weekends to keep their fighting skills sharp.
技术能力就是讲这个发力的原理，别说在运动当中去打人，他就是讲你站那个地方，他能把你打倒，那就算本事很大了。
However, this isn't real fighting. This is a form of sparring that teaches students to attack and defend at the same time. The technique is unique to wushu. Mei Jiaxian is a true wushu lover. He says that he's happy that he gets to do what he loves for a living. However, it seems strange that he wouldn't teach his most powerful movements to his son. As it turns out, his son Mei Runzhi was diagnosed with a serious case of spondylitis, a type of arthritis of the spine, when he was 25. While we were filming, he was still taking big doses of painkillers. The diagnosis derailed his old plans for the future.
刚看到那个 UFC 出来的时候，我就特别想，为什么打的都是这些西洋的拳法呀？怎么没有中国武术去打呢？那时候我梦想就特别想，就练好去打一下，试一试。就是没想到到25岁的时候，真的时候，这个身体突然出了一些问题了。
晴天霹雳， 那会儿是非常难受，我背后掉过眼泪。
没想到他能
对。真是，怎么能教到这样呢？
本来当时您觉得您这一生对武术的追求，儿子应该是能够
是啊，
很好的继承的。
哎，他确实有这个感觉。这不介意吧？这个
没事没事。
确实，当然还好像还有那么多的弟子，我相信他们通过努力，应该讲能把它传承下去，我也有这个信心。因为这还在寻找嘛，还有大家在帮助。
Spear fighting techniques used by clashing armies in ancient times have metamorphosed into fighting styles practiced by common people to this day. While its form is very different, the core of Wushu remains. As we learned earlier, Western China is the land of staff fighting techniques. We headed to northwest China in search of a man named Zhao Xiaozhang. Our experts say that his family is well known in the city of Tianshui in Gansu province for its Heihu style of staff fighting. However, in the videos the movements seem a lot calmer and slower than we imagined. Tianshui rhymes are based on the story of Fu Xi and Nu Hua, the creators of humanity and inventors of music. The people here live a leisurely lifestyle. Old men watch plays through their round crystal glasses, and everyone knows their way around an Wushu staff. Finding a few Heihu practitioners should be no problem at all.
您听说过，比如什么像黑虎棍这种，您听说过吗？黑虎棍。
那就是断口。
But in the videos, they clearly use long staffs. It's a dead end. After asking around, we found out that Zhao Xiaozhang lives in the city's suburbs.
这个红色的门口是吧？我在门口等您吧。不是这放羊的，不是，不是这个，应该不是。哎，可能就是。进去。
我们这里比你们那里可能冷。
是冷。坐。我们刚从那个伏羲庙过来，在那个广场上看见好多练武术的，有这个。
他没有练黑虎棍的，好多人是听说过，他没有见过。他对外不说，对外不来传。
但是他为啥都听说过黑虎棍呢？就说明这个棍子还是
打出来的面上，他是打出来的。以前就比过武嘛，在天水，我们赵家河就有个代表，当时上去以后就用的黑虎棍里边的上枪。 就扎了一枪，对方也就服了。
But why does he talk about spears if they really use staffs?
你现在在你演的那个光盘里边，你看着我父亲打的那个黑虎棍架，农村人演武术就这个样子，他跟你实战起来就不是你说的那个样子。我主要就是练的两个人这样的。那我给你练，你看一下我的单头棍和双头棍。
现在在院子里能看一下。
行啊。这样子对。
The techniques Zhao show us are similar to the ones in the video, but what we really want to see is sparring and the stab he mentioned earlier.
您现在还有人跟您对练吗？
没有，我也不练这个东西。
那您的兄弟他们呢？
他不在。
刚才视频里跟您父亲对打的那个
人70多了，前几天他好像住院了嘛，咋弄的？
Zhao is beginning to seem impatient. He's eager to get the filming over with so he can get back to work. Zhao has a cherry orchard in the hills, and he has to move water up to the trees. His two sons don't practice wushu. He grows cherries and corn and moves brick to earn the several 100,000 yuan needed for them to get married. He doesn't have time for anything else.
我是中国人，那个中国的首都都没去过。
北京有好多练武术的，
他跟我们的不一样，不然这是江湖上的事嘛。他们请我也不去，就走在这个山沟里就行了，让别人吹吧。我也管不了别人吹嘛。武术是练出来的，不是你吹出来的。你不下苦功，你能练好吗？不靠这个东西挣钱，你要挣钱就完蛋了。那不是赚钱的工具。真的武术就是跟人搏斗，就是防备这些土匪啊啥的。
100年前这个地方，可能大家拿个棍子很正常。
很正常。现在你觉得还奇怪了，你拿个棍子，你神经病犯了。拿个来干啥去？藏在家里，不拿出来。
After work, it's time for dinner. This is Zhao's leisure time.
发出去全民开锅吧！父命儿啊！
Zhao's most faithful listener is his dog, whom he has named Hey Hu.
有种。
A bowl of local noodles is his main meal for the day.
够了吗？
还没够，
还没够啊！
After eating and drinking, Zhao begins his evening activities.
我去练武术的，你也不能见，我也不能见。他晚上才练，都偷着练，不能对外传。
By a stroke of luck, one of Zhao's friends who have trained with him since they were kids came to visit. After much discussion, they finally agreed to let us film them sparring using Hei Hu Guan techniques.
黑虎棍的这个练法，它是为了练这个步伐，这个步伐不能乱，步伐一乱，你的棍也就乱了。自古以来，每辈分都是这个样子的练习，不能再变化。 你看起来是这样子打着你的手啊，其实并不是打你的手，
那是打哪儿呢？
也能撒敲，
他马上就扎回来，扎你的咽喉，
是棍就敲，
再扎敲，棍里边暗藏的是敲。
Like the staff conceals spear techniques within it, Zhao includes wushu movements in everyday tasks, such as using the hoe.
这就是你待了一辈子的大山啊！
那没办法。 我2个人走安排好了，我就找你。
行。
As times have changed, many traditional forms of wushu have lost their place and their usefulness in modern life. Like Hei Hu Guan, they lay hidden in remote mountain regions, only practiced by common farmers when they're not working the fields. Having heard of a style called Biangan that uses uniquely short staffs, we head to the city of Xi'an. The master recommended by our experts suggested that we meet in a small noodle joint in the city's Muslim quarter. When we asked for a precise location, he said to follow the sound.
你要吃啥？我找个人。 哎，叫咱学人。哎，在后头，在后头，在后头啊！好，在后头。哦，这就是所谓边口，就是我说你一个短棍儿，你长棍儿短一棍。就咱俩这。
您这棍子平时都是出来的时候都套在那个，还是不想让人知道？
对，对，有人问的话就钓鱼的。
啥？
钓鱼的。
As a proper Xi'an native, Bai Xuezhen has practiced with the staff since he was a child. He used to study great masters such as Ma Yingda, and as a young man made a name for himself in Xi'an's wushu circles. However, changes in his personal life made him disappear from the wushu scene for several decades. Only in recent years did he reappear in this park to start teaching again.
又来一个，
他都做生意的，
这我们认识了，
这卖面的，
这是卖面的啊，
那是卖泡馍的，那个是卖甜食卖元宵的，
卖面的，然后您是
卖元宵的，
卖元宵的，
元宵
啊，这就是一个餐饮业的武术队啊。
西安回回2把刀，一把宰牛羊，一把卖切糕，都是卖饭的。
People in northwest China like the Biangan staff because of its versatility. At 1.2 to 1.3 meters long, it could be used as a walking stick while crossing mountain or to carry loads on one's shoulders. And as soon as a predator or bandit showed up, it could be used to fight them off. The staff is used to keep up a sustained attack. The sequences may seem flashy, but it's all based on real combat scenarios, though today it mostly serves as a popular method of physical exercise.
这是连着3下，也许就打这一下，这直接就走了。
Biangan focuses on changing movements and swift attacks. At more than 70 years of age, Bai Xuezhen can't perform the way he used to. Fortunately, his students have made good progress, and he only has to make the occasional correction. As long as everyone's having a good time and his passion is passed on, Bai Xuezhen seems to be content. After class, everyone packs up their staffs and gets back to work. It looks like the time practicing with the staffs is a welcome break from the busy restaurants. Influenced by their obvious love for the art, we asked if we could get a class. He was happy to oblige and took us to the rooftop of his building to train.
是不是也是不想让周围人看？
对对对，是。
Within the bustling Muslim quarter, this is his quiet place.
对，很好。他就是在里头藏着连续击打，因为他本身是个细杆细木头，一旦有机会不能放弃。就是说，咱俩动手时候，你一个刀到这儿了，我不管你，我完成我的动作。比如说你刀在这儿来了，我东西已经到这儿来了，我躲你，说不定我就找上了。我不躲你，咱俩谁的定力好，谁的意志坚定，谁就赢了。
In those few seconds of eye contact, our director realized that this wasn't like the park. This was the place where Bai Xuezhen practiced the real wushu, the combat.
来了，老白家肉夹馍泡馍。
我们就是一个中国的古典武艺爱好者，我觉得进攻和防守的技术为武术。你表演也好，你体操也好，你养生也好，你健身也好，对不对？你可以给它配上武术的外衣，但是你要认为这个就是中国的国术啊，给你自欺欺人呐、你就一直活在那种虚无缥缈中。中国武术就是翻跟头。
It was time to say goodbye to these restaurateurs/wushu practitioners. If not for this visit, we'd never have guessed that each of these shops had a staff hidden in the corner. At midnight, the bosses of the sticky rice dumpling shop and the bun soup shop finally find time to practice on their own.
这么晚还练呢？
Here we felt the vitality of wushu among the common people. Wushu has left the domain of warriors and roaming swordsmen and become a pastime that everyone can enjoy. Xi'an's Muslim Quarter is a microcosm of all of China, where all kinds of people are finding joy in wushu. Leaving Xi'an, we returned to Beijing to pick up a special guest.
Welcome, Grandmaster. Nice to meet you.
Robert Beaudoin hails from an organization that practiced Eastern traditional martial arts, the World Tung Soo Do Association. Tung Soo Do appears to have originated in the Tang dynasty and then spread across East Asia, and in the 1960s it spread from South Korea to the US. Robert Beaudoin first visited China in 1984, when the country was in the midst of an Wushu fever. There, he visited the Shaolin Temple and many other locations. When he visited again 35 years later, it was because of an encounter our team had when researching this series. In 2018, we met with Liu Jinzhu, an inheritor of the Ba Men Chuan school. The 83-years-old man moved faster than we could have imagined. As an illiterate young man from the countryside, Liu Jinzhu got a medal for his martial arts prowess in the Second National Games of China. He later made a living as an wushu instructor. Out of the many items in his wushu collection, one well-preserved business card attracted our attention. Liu Jinzhu said that he met with members of the World Tung Soo Do Association in Lanzhou in 1984. He was proud that foreign martial arts practitioners acknowledged the style that had been passed down to him and kept their cards ever since. The team immediately went to work, trying to get in touch with the people on the cards. We wished to invite them back to China so we could learn more about Chinese martial arts abroad. In the end, we found Robert. He showed us a documentary of their trip in 1984, and we showed him our recordings from our visit to Liu Jinzhu in 2018.
That's my name?
Yeah.
He saved them.
He carried out the business card from his wallet. I was surprised. I was surprised too.
Chào Yang. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
This
is mine.
一直保存着的。一直保存着。对对。您记不记得当时这个场景？
90吧。
这是您吧？
哎，对对对，这是爷爷。
哎，
是他。
我在这儿有年轻的时候的照片。
That is him.
这是您。
Liu Jinzhu had gotten much skinnier over the last year. His daughter told us he just got out of the hospital and could barely leave the bed.
听到你来了，高兴的哎呀，一下子病也没有了。他就不管怎么做，他还都要见你的面。
We weren't planning on keeping him for too long, but Liu Jinzhu insisted that we go to his family shrine outside of town. Then, despite the language barrier, the two old wushu practitioners continue their training from 1984.
I do the form, shooting spear, but Master Liu.
Robert is fascinated by the video of Liu's spear forms. Liu immediately understands what he's trying to communicate.
他说的也是，看下这个实战意义。
对，枪如果要想灵活，两个手中间交叉，不能这样看。
The scene seems peaceful enough, but then the old master brings the training to an abrupt halt.
这个没有，小孩也没有，是吧？因为他们那是全部是自选投入嘛，那没有嘛，你给他把那高架桥放下，这是我们本国的传统的投入。
你教呀爷，我教不出来呀。
你快一点嘛你。
It's like a reenactment of the scene from 1984. Many things may have changed, but not these two men's pursuit of the core values of Wushu.
Some martial arts in our world has changed and lost some of the traditional aspect of control, respect. It was like Mr. Liu said, it's not genuine. And so they learned the wrong thing. But now there's a revolution for good health. Normal student wants to learn self-defense, physical fitness. Let's not fight. Competition isn't for everybody, so performance gives a person a chance to express themselves freely. We've done some surveys. 98% of the population of the world, they don't do martial arts. Why do we learn martial art? Not to win first place in trophies. That's not important. To help you with your integrity, concentration, perseverance, self-control, humility, indomitable spirit.
Nowadays, professional Wushu is focused on competition and combat, while casual practitioners focus on its health benefits and aesthetic properties. As people pursue different goals, the art itself becomes more diverse. Perhaps this kind of mutual respect and inclusiveness is where its future lies.
There's no one best martial art. We have to be open to other styles.
Robert and Liu's short reunion made us realize that, although the world's martial arts are becoming ever more diverse, only by staying true to their true nature as arts of combat can they survive and reach new heights. The hidden world of Wushu is guarded by countless individuals, from the split between modern and traditional Wushu to the loss of entire schools with the death of a master, from the degradation and death of certain techniques to those kept secret in remote villages, and finally to the change that Wushu has undergone in China and the world to a form of physical exercise. It may seem as if Wushu is destined to decay as times change. However, during our visits we realized that there are still those who remain loyal to the true nature of Wushu. Indeed, Wushu has always existed in a continuous state of change. The only thing that doesn't change is the love that these people have for it and their eagerness to protect its soul. What is the hidden world of Wushu? In a world of information technology and big data, it seems as if nothing can stay secret for long. Are there still any hidden masters out there? Find out in episode 3 of The Hidden World of Wushu, Hiding in Plain Sight.
执掌扬眉气若龙，金刚正玉断清风。谈兵论武求真意，万变之